All right, today we're jumping into Steven Bartlett's The Diary of a CEO. And let me tell you, this is not your average business book. Think of it more as a collection of really unconventional, almost contrarian laws for success, straight from one of the most disruptive entrepreneurs out there.
You know, when a guy like Simon Sinek, the Start With Why guy, says someone is leading the revolution, you really got to listen. This quote isn't just a nice pat on the back. It frames Bartlett as someone who's actively tearing up the old rule book for how business is done.
And that really gets to the heart of the book. It asks this provocative question: what if wild, incredible success doesn't come from following the rules? What if it comes from knowing them so well that you know exactly which ones to snap in half?
So Bartlett breaks his laws down into 4 main pillars. And the first one, the most important one, is the self. The whole idea is simple, right? Before you can build an empire, you have to build yourself. Success, he says, is an inside job, period.
So how do you master yourself? Bartlett gives us this really powerful way to think about it, the 5 buckets. His whole idea is that your potential, what you're capable of, is basically determined by how full you can get each of these 5 buckets in your life.
But here's the catch. The order is everything. It's a specific, step-by-step process. You start with knowledge, what you learn. Then you apply that to build your skills. Those skills then help you build a valuable network. That network gives you access to resources like money and opportunities. And all of that together builds your reputation. You just can't skip the line.
And this leads to a mistake so many of us make. We chase that higher salary, that's bucket 4, resources, but we do it at the expense of buckets 1 and 2. Bartlett's point is that knowledge and skills are the real currency. No one can ever take those away from you. So if you trade them for a little extra cash in the short term, you're actually setting yourself up to be poorer in the long run. Okay, so once you've built that foundation in yourself, you need a way to influence the world. And for Bartlett, the most powerful tool you have isn't your product or your data or your logic, it's your story.
So, let me ask you this. 13,000 pounds. What on earth would a broke 20-year-old CEO just starting out spend that kind of money on?
You heard that right. He spent it on a giant, totally impractical, and on the surface, completely useless blue slide that ended in a ball pit. He put this in his office before he even bought desks for his employees. It sounds absolutely insane, and honestly, that's the whole point. This brings us to one of Bartlett's best laws: useless absurdity. The point is that the things people remember about you, the things that define your story, are often the absurd, memorable things, not the practical ones. And that useless slide, well, it was anything but, because being absurd gets you noticed.
So that slide wasn't useless at all. It was basically a giant billboard. Without saying a single word, it screamed to the world, we are different, we're young, we don't play by your rules. That one absurd object told a story of disruption and innovation way better than any press release ever could. And guess what? The media loved it, clients were fascinated, and the best young talent wanted to be a part of it.
Pillar 3 is all about the philosophy. This is the deep-down mindset that actually drives all your actions. Bartlett's big belief here is that if you can understand a person's core philosophy, you can pretty much predict everything they're going to do.
At the very center of his philosophy is the Japanese concept of Kaizen. Now this means you forget about making these huge, dramatic breakthroughs. The real secret to greatness, he says, is a relentless, obsessive focus on making tiny, 1% improvements every single day, over and over again.
And the power of this is just staggering when you look at the math. Seriously, look at this. Getting just 1% better each day turns 100 pounds into almost 4,000 in just a year. But getting 1% worse each day, it pretty much wipes you out. Those tiny daily choices, they are not small at all. Over time, they are everything.
Think about Tiger Woods. At the absolute height of his game, when he was untouchable, he decided to completely tear down and rebuild his golf swing. He knew he'd lose tournaments in the short term, but he did it because he believed that a new swing could be just a tiny fraction better in the long run. He chose the process of getting better over the immediate win. That right there is Kaizen in action.
This philosophy of constant improvement flows right into the final pillar, the team. Because let's be real,
You can't achieve audacious goals all by yourself. The only way to get to true scale is by multiplying your own efforts through other people. And this introduces a super simple but absolutely profound shift in how you think. Most of us, when we face a big task, we ask, how can I do this? But the great leaders, the great delegators, they instinctively ask a different question. Who can do this for me? That one-word change from how to who is the secret to leverage, to scale, to everything.
So when you're looking for that who, Bartlett says the evaluation is dead simple. Every single person you bring onto your team does one of three things. They either lower the average performance, they maintain it, or they raise it. There is no in-between. And your only job as a leader is to relentlessly find people who raise the bar and have the guts to deal with those who lower it.
Ultimately, the Diary of a CEO is really a handbook for challenging your own ideas and your own comfortable beliefs. It argues that real growth only starts when you have the courage to break your own rules. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to think about. Which comfortable belief will you challenge first?